Okay, you're going to start today with quite a long activity, which is that I want you to imagine you've got a year 7 child just starting secondary school, you're their parent. Use the internet and research how much it's going to cost you to get them set up for school and continue through their first year. Note down the things you think are needed and why and how much they cost. Then try to jot down what your final figure is and then have a think about, can all households easily afford it? And start to think about why each of these items is important for success at school. Press pause and come back to me when you've done that task. Okay, so I would imagine you definitely thought about equipment and uniform and a school bag and those things there. You might have thought about IT. You definitely, I'm hoping, thought about perhaps transport, how to get there. Does your child need a bike? Do they need a bus pass? How much are the lunches going to cost you? Are you going to do packed lunches? Or are you going to let them have school dinners? Have you thought about school trips? So in our school, we know that year 7 go to the Weald and Downland and they go to Boulogne as an absolute minimum. So that's about 60 or so pounds for Boulogne, 20 or so for the Weald and Downland. So there's a little bit more money. And have you thought about things like homework? Has your child got a desk, a space to do their homework? Are you going to make sure, how much money is it going to cost you to make sure they've got a healthy breakfast? They've got a snack when they get in from school because they're hungry. So think about all of those things. So a title for today's lesson: how do material factors affect attainment based on social class? Write today's date and title. So a little bit of knowledge, some bits you need to jot into your book here. Material factors refer to money and what money can buy. Could include housing, healthy food, good living conditions, equipment and clothing. Material deprivation is a key word for your glossary and it refers to a lack of these basic needs due to a lack of money. So material deprivation is not having enough of these basics because you haven't got the money to buy them. And some sociologists argue that material deprivation and poverty is the main reason that students underachieve. Okay, you've got a copy of the sheet in your resources that you were sent today about why is money important for student attainment. If you haven't got that, you can see the sheet is also on the PowerPoint slide and you could actually copy out the main headings. And what I want you to do is just jot down the areas of what the money is needed for, why that's important for success. Think about why the student needs it, what effect it would have on them if they didn't have it. And then an importance rating. If you think that thing's really, really, really important and vital, give it 10. If you think it doesn't really matter, it's not important, 1, or any number in between. And then write a small paragraph explaining which ones of all of those do you think are the most important factors and why. So, what has been done to help? A.H. Halsey, very important study. He argued from his 1980 study that not having material factors or money was more detrimental than not having the right culture. So he thought the material factors was key. He said that lots of working class children wanted to succeed but simply didn't have enough resources to do so. And he also said it affected how many of them went off to college or university, simply because they couldn't afford to do so. The Children's Commission on Poverty in 2014 said that many children struggle to pay for uniform, equipment, school trips, lunches and the internet, which meant that their children fall behind other children. And also that these children are more likely to be left out and even perhaps bullied. What has been done to help? So, something you need to really understand, and I would suggest you do a little bit of research on it if you need to after this lesson. The pupil premium grant. So the pupil premium grant was introduced by the government in 2011 and it gave extra money to schools for disadvantaged pupils to hopefully raise their achievement. So what happens is each of the children who are seen to be pupil premium children, so that is normally because their family are in receipt of certain benefits, universal credit for example, they get, or the school gets, a pupil premium amount of money, so that's extra to whatever the free school meal thing is. They get a pupil premium amount of money to help support those children. And you'll know when you go into, for example, year 11, sometimes certain students will get revision resources and so on, or you might know that you get money off going to trips and so on and so forth. Now, what we do as a school is we don't go advertising who's pupil premium. You will probably know if you are a child who receives pupil premium support, but it's to try to even out this material deprivation, to give those children a little bit of extra that their families can't afford, to sort of level the playing field, to make things more equal. So the final thing to do for this lesson is to think like a sociologist. Decide whether you agree or you disagree with Halsey. If you agree with him, you're saying that you believe it is true that material factors are the most important factor for children to be successful in school, that they need their IT access, they need money for school trips, equipment, uniform, etc., etc., and that is the most important thing for whether they'll be successful. If you disagree, you're thinking instead that perhaps it's your cultural capital that's important, as Pierre Bourdieu said, this making sure that you are going to theatres and museums and you've got lots of books in your house, etc. Or you might think it's actually the social capital, as mentioned by Diane Ray and Becky Francis, this idea that it's not what you know, but who you know. Think about which side you agree or disagree there. Think about which side you're on and just write a sentence or two. I agree or I disagree with Halsey because. You can't be right or wrong. It is your view, but do try to back it up with some evidence or examples. Thank you for listening.